Genghis Khan has created a problem where Shadow has to initiate the offense, but not overextend into getting counter hit poked, right? Shadow countered that by staying as frame tight as possible. But again, it only takes one read from Genghis Khan, like a low parry or like a float, and then the damage starts stacking really quickly. Shadow had to commit to the mix-ups to open up Genghis Khan in the first place, which is a higher risk game plan than Zafina really wants to play. So it was really effective of Dawn to manipulate Shadow into playing this way. Dawn set up Shadow to be the one messing up. Hey everyone, it's PhiDX. I got an exciting review for you today. This is Shadow 20Z versus Genghis Dawn at the Tekken NA Regional Finals. It's a beautiful case study in how Shadow will find almost any way to win possible, and I want to put that on display here. So briefly, I have up in the notes up there what each character kind of wants to do. Cliff notes: Katarina is super fast-paced. She wants to, mix you up with her stance. She wants to get you to start pressing buttons to try to keep her out. Once you're doing that, she has a lot of crazy, powerful counter hits. She has magic 4, down forward 4. Her full crouch low is really evasive, and if it counter hits you, she gets a follow-up. And then things like sidestep hop kick can beat like small poke retaliation. Now Zafina is more of a left-hand character. She wants you to whiff because she can move like crazy. Her sidestep's super evasive. Her backdash is insane. If you try to go in and dash in on her, she can down forward 1 keep out you for very little risk. And if you're taking bigger swings at her, counter hit 1+2 when she gets a more confident read, or a down 3 to beat advancing highs. All of these will counter hit launch you, do a ton of damage, put you at the wall, and then you got to guess like 2 or 3 times to live. And if you really let Zafina take the lead, she can stack advantage with her stance offense, which gives her a lot of favorable frames and puts her in a lot of advantageous situations where you might mess up. So let's get started here.
There's a lot of good grades right there.
Now you'll notice right away in game 1 that both players are just like sticking to left-hand gameplay, right? Like Genghis Dawn knows that Zafina is going to try to get him to whiff, so he opens up with a lot of movement. And even now in neutral, he's not making like giant commitments because of that 1+2, that down forward 1 keep out that we're seeing Shadow doing.
Me and Mike was talking about, I was telling Mike,
running into a forward 4-3 is also super painful. Now Shadow notices that nothing is really happening, so he starts throughout the forward 4-3 and then starts with the down 3. And you can see that like one counter hit, and now Genghis Dawn is in a really awful place.
She definitely was fleshed out a lot too. Because when she started off, she was like, "Oh, she's this beginner character in the game."
Notice Genghis Dawn interrupting some down 4s here, coming out a lot, and he landed a big down back 3 like power low, right? Now on paper that's reactable, so this information will come into play again later. Here's another situation that Dawn will probably take note of. You'll see that Shadow went for the sidestep right, but whether online or another reason, it was too slow. So down forward 1-1 on hit into the sidestep right is actually still sidesteppable. Sorry, down forward 1-1 into Harrier. Zafina can still step this, even though she got hit. But Shadow didn't get it off in time. Okay, so the power low hit, the sidestep right wasn't in time. So Shadow's defense, for one reason or another, is a little weak today.
That's what Katarina was kind of considered, right? But like you said, like
Dawn is sticking to the down forward 1s and the down 4s, and then you saw Shadow got desperate to retaliate and ate a counter hit, right?
We don't see many Katarinas at all. Oddly enough, this is one of the other.
Dawn's stacking a lot of damage just on down forward 1s when Zafina's trying to move or just trying to get a poke in. But otherwise, he's not really like going crazy looking for these counter hits necessarily. Like he's not swinging and throwing it like crazy. He's making sure to stuff with the down 4, stuff with the down forward 1, and then Shadow wants to act. And it's at that moment that the counter hit comes out. Rage Shard for Shadow. Nice. That was actually really good. He reacted to the whiff of the Scarecrow too and was able to interrupt. That was actually really nice reaction from Genghis Dawn. So noticing that like Dawn has been playing the neutral very passively, Shadow just starts going in. Let's rewind this round. Shadow starts taking the lead in neutral, just immediate down 3, going into stance, into another mix right away. No cancel, no delay, going in right away. Couple backdashes, but he's already starting his offense up again. Now, Genghis Dawn had a tendency of interrupting with down 4 and down forward 1, right? So that's why you're seeing these stance counter hits going. Shadow tries a string extension, but Dawn stays patient. Nice power crush.
Okay. All right.
That was a successful strategy, so let's see. Shadow will probably try it again. Nice reaction to the down 3.
Valkyrie's easy here.
Once Katarina gets going, too, she can stack a lot of damage in really fast-paced mix-ups, and Genghis Dawn loves doing that, too.
Uh-oh. Here comes the Mantis. We canceling? Yeah, we canceling.
Going back to his slow approach here.
Man.
Remember, he's sticking to down forward 1 and down 4 to just try and stop Zafina from getting anything going.
The space to play the game he wants to. He's like, nah, you want to get comfortable with this range? I'm gonna be right.
Katarina has a lot of huge advancing moves, too, so...
Shadow gets a poke. Genghis is like, I'm gonna walk up to you and stand there.
Down jab, that's some crucial intel, right? So Genghis Dawn saw the stance and stuffed it with the down jab. Shadow's going to take advantage of that pretty quickly once his offense gets started again.
How close Genghis is playing.
No duck on there.
Right now he doesn't have this. Shadow though has the rage.
Genghis Dawn goes for a read, trying to clip him, but that rage drive is a real punish.
Oh boy. Okay, good choice there. 7 seconds to go on the clock. It was shadow time. You knew it was gonna happen.
Down around here.
Round, game 1.
Dawn still sticking with his like relatively passive approach. He's not like beginning his offense. He's trying to catch Shadow in the middle of his offense.
What? Okay.
And right off one opening, that was in 12 seconds. Right off one opening, he stacks so much damage. Counter hit, full crouch down forward 4, guaranteed. Stomp. Harrier stance to chase, and Shadow's waking up, so it's going to be hard to move to beat anything. 3-3-3 into stance again. Shadow jab retaliates, and then eats the power low. Rewinding a lot, but this is happening really fast, right? Harrier high. Power low goes under. Oh, no. I think Shadow tried to down forward 1, actually. Yeah, it was a down forward 1. Dawn just won the timing. Guaranteed flip over. That's half HP.
Look at the life.
Alright, Shadow gets a punish. And now Shadow's going to do the same thing back. Remember how Dawn is looking for opportunities to interrupt the stance with generic down 4 or down forward 1? Or not just stance, interrupt Shadow in his offense. Shadow's just going to go with the frame advantage he has. So guaranteed. Shadow's huge plus here. Mixes him with the low. Shadow's going to go in again shortly. Yep, jab to control, gets counter hit out of the next move though. Alright, here we go. Down 3 into Mantis, straight into Scarecrow. Again, going for plus frame advantage. Small low poke. Genghis Dawn goes for retaliation, right? So this is how you know Shadow is looking at Genghis Dawn's habit more than like testing what Genghis Dawn knows, right? This move, Genghis Dawn did not retaliate with a move that would work here. But Shadow just kept it frame tight and knew that a retaliation was coming. And since Dawn gets blown up for this retaliation, he goes for generic down 4, right? But he doesn't have the frames to do that. Dawn goes for this, gets smacked. So on wake up he freezes and Shadow is already going low.
Blatant low.
Honestly, that was really sick. So you'll notice that like the default way Shadow was playing initially was so focused on just trying to win down forward 1 keep out, trying to win 1+2, but Dawn didn't give that to him. Dawn didn't expose himself with offense that would die to that. So when Shadow decided to take the lead, he lost patience. He's like, I need to go in, I need to get some damage. Then Dawn started finding the down 4s, the down forward 1s. He started finding the counter hits. And Dawn doesn't need a gigantic Dawn doesn't need to win a bunch of interactions. He gets his 1 counter hit, he gets his 1 float, and like you saw the full crouch down forward 4. He landed one of those, and all of a sudden Shadow's at half health, right? Like this is the situation I'm talking about. It's his mix-up fails, no big deal. Counter hit, guaranteed, and then a free mix. And Dawn is going to run this pressure, right? Like Zafina loses her ability to force neutral errors when you're in a canned mix-up like this, right? Like you're forced to wake up and guess. Suddenly Zafina can't rely on her ability to just evade or keep out. She has to guess just like any other human. So Dawn capitalizes on this with a bunch of good reads.
Okay.
But as you can see, Dawn was really dependent on finding these little poke counter hits with the jabs in the middle of Shadow's offense. But when Shadow keeps his offense frame tight and doesn't give any openings, Dawn's counter hit attempts don't work. Really good stuff to identify Dawn's strategy there and then like implement the counterplay in like the last 2 rounds. Like it happened when he was low HP and about to lose the game. He was still able to modify his strategy, just slight tweaks. Like he wasn't going crazy like a million different stance mix-ups. He did just what he needed with staying frame tight in his offense to get the win. So going to game 2,
He needs to in times like
Exactly,
that.
right?
We all
Like you,
know Shadow
Dawn probably
has
thinking
the
about
bug.
what was working. We see some slow power lows. Wow, Shadow gets a nice whiff punish there.
Good whiff punish with the launch.
Dawn's power lows were hitting, and then he was able to get some Harrier stance things that Shadow isn't countering with his movement. And Shadow's brother plays Katarina pretty regularly, so I would assume that Shadow knows the defensive option, and instead it's an off day, it's an online thing, whatever the reason. We just saw another power low hit. All right, let's rewatch it. So
He just started enough so that the hurt box moved out or what? But that was
float
ridiculous.
with the magic 4. This is just combo. Now Shadow loses the guess again, or the reaction. Shadow guesses wrong. Wall combo into another guess. 3-3-3. And then you'll see Shadow tries to take control back with a jab, and immediately Dawn goes back to his game plan, right? Get Shadow to attack me, and then use quick pokes to counter hit him.
Yeah, the jabs actually stuffed Shadow's rage drive attempt there.
Instead of trying to beat Shadow in neutral, make Shadow end neutral, or win a guess and then have neutral be over, right? And then play in a situation where Katarina can like fight back.
Counter hit down 3 on the wall. Had to switch up the combo though.
That's actually really sick strategy from Dawn too.
Good choice.
Right? A lot of generic down 4. Just, I'm not going to compete against your movement. I'm going to wait until you're in my face and I can interrupt, and then I'm going to get started.
Mantis, oh boy.
Nice. Got Shadow to do that.
Funny from Genghis here, has rage.
He challenged and swang straight into it. That challenge really didn't make a lot of sense. That felt like a lot of desperation. He needed the HP to come back. He was hoping Shadow would hesitate or something, but Shadow been doing the Scarecrow 1+2 over and over, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of damage off of small pokes here, so
Where Shadow's finding a lot of success.
I'm saying, dude.
Shadow ends the neutral with the jab. Junior challenges, and now Junior's just going. Or Junior. Genghis Dawn. Genghis Dawn is just going.
Shadow sidewalk left there, but
Wow.
Harry second to go
Touches the back.
Oh wow, did not catch the
backwards too. He was backwards doing
Right?
the power because I don't
In
even
this
know if it
neutral
worked that
situation,
way.
I doubt that that Genghis Dawn is going to initiate, right? He's going to wait for Shadow to come in and do something first. Partially because of the health lead, partially because he doesn't want to whiff or get counter hit. So Shadow, recognizing this really quickly, just starts running his offense really quickly, right? Like he doesn't give any breathing room or time to think. Right away, mix into snake edge. All immediate timing mix-ups, banking on the fact that Genghis Dawn is looking for a window to interrupt. So Shadow picks his most evasive options. Evasive, high damage, hitting low, right?
Kicked her right in the stomach. Oh, you better stop that.
Now we see Shadow just running in, right? Move.
Use any rage there. For the wall combo, I mean.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Yep. Good block by Genghis Dawn.
Alright, well, Genghis Dawn has a good
Power low
opportunity
again,
now.
beating the jab.
Close it out, get on the board, tied up one apiece.
Now Dawn is going back to the exact same plan, right? Shadow ending neutral twice, or sorry, once with the jab, and then going for a mix.
Shadow.
And you'll notice like not a lot of playmaking happening here. Because Genghis Dawn dies to a keep out 1+2, he dies to keep out rage drive, right?
Yeah, he was
Running into forward 4-3, nice, that was beautiful. At this range, forward 4-3, you get a backdash, and then that's just a whiff punish.
Get the comeback, but Genghis too patient, not giving him that
So
opportunity.
Dawn recognized
Rage, and there we go.
that
We're tied
his
up now.
game plan
Genghis Dawn,
of making the small
one
counter
apiece
hits
Shadow. Is this
was
gonna
working,
be
but also if Shadow is ready to go, it'll get him killed.
seed?
So he chills out on that, gets a huge health lead right away, and then backs up and backs up. And as long as his defense stays solid, he isn't eating the snake edges and the fast mix-ups, or getting counter hit out of the mix-ups, he's doing okay. So now, Shadow's counter adjustment is going to be beautiful here. This is actually super, super sick. So Genghis Dawn has created a problem where Shadow has to initiate the offense, but not overextend into getting counter hit poked, right? Shadow countered that by staying as frame tight as possible. But again, it only takes one read from Genghis Dawn, like a low parry or like a float, and then the damage starts stacking really quickly.
Who's gonna have a negative one? That's what this is. Both players, same start, right? Super patient, in and out.
Shadow lands a jab, takes a small mix, and then leaves. Okay, another mistake on the defensive end. No sidestep right there.
Quick 35%. Genghis Dawn. Shadows back.
Genghis Dawn down jabs and it whiffs. Here we go. That was beautiful. So look at this here.
Shadows back to the wall and just fighting away.
Genghis Dawn stacking the quick lows again to get Shadow to do something, right? So in the past, Genghis Dawn had gotten Shadow to jab back and would get and the full crouch low would hit, right? Shadow goes for the knockdown mid into Okazemi. No launch punish there. That's really rough. Shadow tries to duck the follow-up there, but Genghis Don doesn't commit. Bam. Capitalizing again on Genghis Don's high activity, right? I don't know what he pressed. He did a down forward 1. Genghis Don wanted to continue to interrupt, right? Continue to interrupt, stuff the offense, because Shadow ended neutral. Now I have a chance to play. Shadow does the string extension. Again, a counter hit after just on a basic string, because Genghis Don was insistent on trying to find the small poke counter hits.
It happens to me quite frequently. I like
Shadow again reading the retaliation. He's so good at this. Down 3, sidestep right to beat the down jab. It would have probably beaten a down forward 1 as well.
I like the hit button.
At least be a knockdown. You know why?
And now he keeps the mix up at full speed as before, right? So he goes straight into stance and he's mixing again because that was so successful in game 2. Simultaneously, he knows Genghis Don is gonna try to retaliate, so he goes for the high crushing low. That's so sick. It's awful to play against, but like beautiful adjustment from the way he wanted to play by default.
Oh boy.
Right? Shadow's running away with it. He's like found all of the weaknesses to poke at and is just blowing him up for it. Ooh, combo drops.
Drop the combo though.
Raw down forward 2. That down forward 2 is crazy too, because Genghis Don is probably seeing this HP and going, oh man, I need to make a comeback right here, right? Neutral ends and he just dashes in, blocks, and then gets a hit.
Game 3 for Shadow.
Honestly, as a competitor, this kind of like flexibility is so impressive. It looked like he went for the power low even, right? Because you would think that all Shadow has to do, he's on infinite, is hold this HP lead and just chill. And instead he decides to blow up Genghis Don. Really impressive gameplay from Shadow. I'm a big fan of the mental fortitude and kind of resilience. Like, in the first game, nothing was working. Like, he kept getting poked. He kept getting poked out of his offense. Like, and every time he got counter hit, it would lead to like half HP, full HP loss, right? So his adjustment to stay as frame tight as possible and just counter hit Don for trying to hit him back was so strong at taking advantage of the weakness in Don's game plan. It's so effective because on paper, Don was doing the right thing, right? Don't play into Zafina's strength. Let her come into you where you can just defend and, like, you know, stay solid. Find your interruptions and make them desperate. But even though that's such a solid game plan on paper, Don is sitting still most of the time, right? So Shadow caught on to the fact that, hey, you know, yes, I have to take the lead, but my character gives me a bunch of advantage if I, you know, am successful. So he stacked a bunch of advantage, and because Don was already in the mind state that he wanted to find these counter hits, it ended up creating situations where Zafina's strings beat out those retaliation attempts, like that when the muscle memory kicked in, right? Like, the stance is not a situation where you can always challenge, especially on hit. Like, not only is that's like a standard Tekken 7 DLC stance rule, right? Like, if they're in a stance, you often have to hold it and guess, right? Even if they didn't hit their follow-up into it. So yeah, just to recap, Don's base game plan, so solid. He just wanted Zafina to end the neutral. He could find some small poke damage. He could find some quick, like counter hit generic down 4, you know, straight down forward 1. Then he doesn't have to worry about whiffing or getting blown up by Zafina's movement. And then if he just stacks the Okazemi damage, he creates a situation where the next time Zafina ends neutral, she has to be super careful of not getting blown up again, right? It's honestly a super effective strategy, and it only fell apart because he was not able to shift gears as quickly as Shadow did, right? Shadow quickly shifted gears to a super high speed offense, like mix up after mix up after mix up. And Don was still stuck in playing counter hit mode when he didn't have the frames to do so. So it takes a lot of presence of mind to kind of come out of that strategy, especially when it's been working. And that's not to say that Zafina is a winning matchup or anything like that, right? But Don had a plan that would counter the strongest Zafina strategy, which is like backdash, let them initiate, and you just punish them when they mess up, right? Don set up Shadow to be the one messing up. Shadow had to commit to the mix-ups to open up Genghis Don in the first place, which is a higher risk game plan than Zafina really wants to play. So it was really effective of Don to manipulate Shadow into playing this way. The downside is once Shadow started doing it, Dawn didn't make the necessary adjustment where he had to call out the mix-ups, like especially the lows, stay solid on his defense. Instead, he stayed in interrupt mode, and that interrupt mode murdered him when Shadow decided to stay frame tight. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Let me know other games you want me to analyze in the comments below. I will obviously be analyzing more of my games because I can speak more to my mentality and things like that. But I thought it was really important to cover how Shadow was playing against someone who had a really strong paper game plan, right? But he was able to find a victory path. Catch you all in the next one. Cheers.